What's going on, YouTube? When it comes to minivans, they have long been regarded as the best way to move around a lot of bodies and all their stuff, but certainly not in a fashionable way. In the age of SUVs, minivans have been falling out of favor and being replaced by large SUVs like the new Toyota Grand Highlander. It has space and functionality that can finally rival the best-selling minivan in America, the Sienna. But if you're looking for the ultimate family transporter in the Toyota lineup, which should you pick? Let's go ahead and find out. Now, like always, let's quickly establish the pricing and trim levels right from the start. Even though minivan sales have been declining, the features on board have only been escalating. Because of that, the prices have been as well, with this fully loaded Platinum all-wheel drive model ringing in at $56,193 after destination. Now moving on to the all-new Grand Highlander, it's available in a lot more versions than the Sienna. The price can rise to about $60,000 for some versions, so we picked the closest spec we had access to, the Limited. All told, the price is a few $100s different from the Sienna. Now this is going to be an objective comparison. We have done our best to weigh the points awarded throughout in major and minor categories, but at the end of the comparison we will sum up with our thoughts and revisit any price difference for a value assessment. With that being said, let's get into this comparison. While minivans get a bad rap for not being very stylish, the Sienna has always made more of an attempt than the rivals, which earned it the Swagger Wagon nickname. Up front, it has a large grille, which is somewhat similar to that of the new Grand Highlander. The big thing that people might care about is the boxier shape and tougher look of the Grand Highlander. As far as lighting, we have projector LED headlights on both models, as well as fog lamps. Moving to the side, there's nothing mini about the Sienna minivan, and is still larger than even the biggest Highlander ever made. Both offer exceptional interior and cargo space, which is something you'll see later in this comparison. Design-wise, we have 20-inch alloy wheels on the Grand Highlander, but on the Sienna, if you choose all-wheel drive, your wheels are automatically downgraded to just 18 inches. Not only are they smaller, but they're also covered with chrome hubcaps. Heading out back, they are fairly similar with exposed wipers, chrome and black accents, and fully LED taillights. Two differences are that the Grand Highlander has exposed chrome-tipped exhaust outlets and completely LED taillights. Now checking out some of the individual features, both of their mirrors have heating, blind spot monitoring, and power folding, but only Sienna has auto-dimming. Now safety is paramount for these kinds of vehicles, so in addition to blind spot monitoring, both also include the entire Toyota Safety Sense suite of active safety features. Obviously, warranty coverage will be identical between them, but the Grand Highlander has superior towing abilities, even when the Sienna is optioned with the tow hitch. But being comfortable and having accommodations for the whole family inside the cabins is more important, so let's get into that. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now, both these vehicles are designed to bring the whole family along for the ride.
But you know what else happens when you bring the whole family along? Smells. That's why, before we go any further in this comparison, we want to share with you a cool new product in the fragrance category. You all know we review hundreds of cars per year, and when that new car smell finally runs out, who wants a stinky, stale-smelling car? Not us, and that's where Drift comes in to help, since they have created air care products for your car.
Their car products are made from sustainable materials with scents made from natural, essential, and fragrance oils. The scent we have today is teak, and you'll catch hints of fresh tobacco leaf, teakwood, and musk. It smells fresh, relaxing, and most importantly, covers up all the other odors.
And to boot, their car products range from $9 to $15, so they are super affordable. And I may add, stylish. We love the classy way this wood freshener looks attached to the visor. We like car accessories that add class, not take away from the car's interior.
And what's cool about these air fresheners is that you can get them as a subscription. They also have a cool scent of the month, which features a new limited edition scent. They're inspired by the season and the memories and emotions attached to it. Their subscription is also very flexible. You can change your scent choice, your delivery frequency, or cancel your subscription at any time you like.
To sweeten the deal, Drift is giving Car Confections viewers 55% off your first month. All you have to do is use our coupon code CAR55 to get 55% off your first month at drift.co. That's less than $6 for your first month, so make sure to check out our link in the description to learn more. As two siblings, you will find some things that are similar and others that are quite different. The first similar thing is that they overall look pretty premium, which begins at the seats. Both models have 10 ways of adjustment: heating, ventilation, and memory. They are fully brown leather in the Sienna and a suede and leather combo in the Grand Highlander. Once we fully climb inside, we can get into overall material quality. These two are pretty similar, with a mixture of leatherette, soft and hard touch plastic, and faux decor, wood and carbon fiber respectively. After startup, you'll see a full digital gauge cluster on the Grand Highlander, compared to a 7-inch multi-function display on the Sienna. But Sienna Platinums get large head-up displays. Both of them have rain-sensing wipers and heated leather-wrapped steering wheels, but only the Sienna's is power adjusting. Even with the extra emphasis on luxury and creature comforts, it's utility that they are really focused on above all else. Front storage is ample, with huge center consoles and tons of spaces to stick small objects like phones. Grand Highlander has a passenger storage shelf, but the Sienna has an even larger one. Plus, it has a massive center pass-through, which is a perfect place to keep a bag of parenting essentials, for example. Moving to the shifters, the Sienna retains a traditional one instead of the new electronic one in the Grand Highlander. When in reverse, both have 360-degree backup cameras that could use an upgrade in resolution. Electronic parking brakes with brake hold are also on board. Now, as we come back to the climate controls, we have 3 and 4 zone climate on the GH and the Sienna respectively. Both have large physical controls. And speaking of knobs, the same thing goes for the audio systems. Both have JBLs on these top trim levels, so let's take a sample. As you would expect, they pretty much sound equal. Now it's time to take a look at the screens, where you can tell the Grand Highlander is the newer product. It has a 12-inch display versus the 9-inch one in the Sienna. Furthermore, the Sienna is still using the old Intune system instead of the new Toyota multimedia system, meaning it's less feature-rich. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are both on board, but only wireless on the GH. Moving on, both models have auto-dimming rearview mirrors and HomeLink remotes. But if you want a panoramic sunroof, you will need to pick the Grand Highlander. It's been interesting so far in this comparison, and that's going to continue as we head to the crucial rear seats, third row, and cargo capacities. Before you even get inside though, you have to acknowledge the power sliding rear doors on the Sienna, which prevent your kids from opening them into nearby cars, for example. You can also tell your friends that you have a feature shared with Rolls-Royce. Jokes aside, let's get into the second rows. And beginning with leg and headroom, we have nearly identical figures for both. All measurements are less than the 5% difference required to score a point. But the van does have a secret trick up its sleeve. It has super long slide seats, which can travel up to 25 inches for nearly unlimited second row legroom. This is very cool for redistributing second and third row space as you see fit. The other thing I want to address are the executive style seats with ottomans that the Sienna Platinum usually has. When selecting the optional spare tire, you delete them, which is what today's example has done for some reason. But, despite that, we still have a wide range of creature comforts for both Sienna and Grand Highlander. We have rear climate controls, vents, USB ports, household power outlets, sunshades, and the seats themselves are heated. The GH also offers ventilated rear seats, but only on the Platinum trim, not this limited. The rear seat entertainment screen is exclusive to the Sienna, though. Let's head to the next row of seats. Access to the third rows is very easy, thanks to folding and sliding mechanisms. And once back there, we have tons of space. The Grand Highlander exceeds pretty much every 3-row midsize SUV out there, with over 33 inches of legroom. But even still, it's not enough to beat out the Sienna. The level of space and comfort are pretty much unrivaled, and both have ample headroom for adults as well. Other features included are rear vents, reclining seats, and the Sienna has third-row sunshades. Now moving out back, both have hands-free power tailgates, and once they open up, you'll find the same scenario play out here as the third rows. The Grand Highlander is huge, and exceeds pretty much all its rivals, but the packaging of a minivan is still superior. The max capacities are similar, but the figures behind the second and third rows are much larger for the Sienna. Neither of them have power third rows, but the manual folding is much easier in the Sienna, where it only takes one arm to fold them into the cargo floor. Speaking of cargo floor, you'll notice that the Grand Highlander has a flat surface all the way up to the front seats, while the Sienna can't accomplish that unless the second rows are completely removed. That's it for the interiors, so now let's take this close fight to the streets. Before we get into what these two specifically perform like, I want to mention all the options you have. With the Grand Highlander, you have 3 powertrain choices: a traditional gas turbo 4, a traditional hybrid, and a high-performance hybrid. This allows you to match the powertrain to whatever your priorities are, a very different approach from the Sienna. With it, you are locked into only one hybrid model, composed of a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder and 2 electric motors for 245 total horsepower. For the same price, our Grand Highlander is the turbocharged Hybrid Max model, and that means it makes substantially more power, about 120 more horsepower. Obviously, that's a large performance discrepancy, and a big Grand Highlander advantage if you're a power-hungry person.
Alright, and just like that, we're up to 60 miles per hour in the Grand Highlander. So even though this is a big gal, she can move when she has 362 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. That's a lot of power for this segment, for sure. So just to remind you guys from the spec dump, what this is a 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. We have a front electric motor. We also have a rear E-axle. All that goes together to give you the power figures I just cited.
And there is 60 miles an hour in the 2023 Toyota Sienna. Not sure any Sienna owner has ever done a 0 to 60 test, but we just did one. Well, honestly, it's not as bad as you would think. We've reviewed the Sienna several times at this point, so we've been behind the wheel a couple times, and living with this one for the full week, honestly, I've been pretty impressed with the amount of power. It's not excruciatingly slow, and it's enough to get this big guy up to speed perfectly fine. You know, not like incredibly quick or anything, but it's perfectly adequate for a minivan.
Even though these two are both hybrids, the mechanics behind them are completely different, which continues on to the transmissions as well. The Sienna has an eCVT, and the Grand Highlander has a traditional 6-speed automatic. Most people prefer this because it avoids any drone when accelerating.
And a traditional 6-speed automatic as well as part of this powertrain. So it's a very interesting setup. that really gives this a performance edge, unlike most things in the segment.
There's from 40 to 60, and that's really exemplifying the transmission on board. So with the Sienna, since we do have the hybrid as your only powertrain option, you're all going to have ECVTs. It's not a bad CVT transmission. It's relatively responsive, and really I don't have a lot of complaints with it.
The Sienna sounds pretty strained at times when accelerating, but once you get up to speed, you'll probably want to know how quiet they are. Taking a sound level reading at 55 miles per hour on equivalent roads, both deliver great results in the mid-50s. The Sienna is a bit quieter, but the typical adult can only notice a 1 decibel difference, so we won't award a point here.
But let's go ahead and get our sound level reading going 55 miles an hour on our signature stretch of road here.
Okay, that was a pretty long sample there, making sure you get the right number. 54.4 decibels.
All right, looks like we've settled at 55 decibels even.
Next up, let's discuss the ride qualities. They absorb all but the largest road imperfections, although that does mean that neither of them will classify as having tight body control. That being said, the Grand Highlander does exhibit better handling.
And we haven't mentioned it up until this point, but I do want to just briefly mention that ride quality is pretty much assumed that a minivan is going to have exceptionally good ride quality. That is going to be the case with the Sienna. I mean, you hit a bump and you roll over top of it and you just can't feel any intrusion at all inside the cabin.
Now we're on a pretty smooth stretch of highway here, but that hasn't been the case for the entire day. We've driven this around quite a lot and hit a lot of different kinds of road surfaces, which has really demonstrated to us we have phenomenal ride quality on board.
And lastly, for fuel economy, even though the GH's powerful hybrid is surprisingly efficient, it's still no match for the Sienna hybrid. It gets about 26% lower fuel economy than the Sienna, which gets 35 miles per gallon combined despite its enormous size. Lastly, for value, since they are only a few $100s apart, no points will be awarded here. Before we conclude, we do want to thank our video sponsor Drift once again, and remind you to check out the link in the description to learn more.
So there you have it. The objective winner is going to be the Toyota Sienna, but let's go ahead and talk about who should be your winner. Well, the Grand Highlander should be your winner if you're really interested in those powertrain options. As we discussed, you have a lot of different choices. You can get up to 362 horsepower and up to 34 miles per gallon. So you kind of mix and match what works for you. You're also going to have the availability of higher towing. Because of such, you're also going to have the newest technology when it comes to what's inside of the vehicle. And finally, you have that SUV body style that a lot of people want instead of the minivan, which has a stigma to it.
So if you're the one that doesn't mind the stigma, the Sienna would be the choice for you if you really want the best second and third rows. The Grand Highlander does have a very good second and third row, but the Sienna still does it better. It has all those family-friendly features that you're looking for that are going to keep your kids entertained and happy. It's also going to have more maximum cargo capacity, which certainly is a big benefit. Now, we want to know which model you are going to be taking down in the comments below. Are you going for the practical Sienna or the cooler Toyota Grand Highlander? Be sure to let us know what your thoughts are down below, because we're very interested in hearing about that. If you're not a fan of... Not a fan. Good Lord, okay. I don't know what the problem is today. Now, if you're a fan of the channel, thank you so much for your continued support, because you do make this all possible, including making more of these comparison videos. And if you're not, I encourage you to join in on this Car Confections family. We make a lot of videos that you won't want to miss out on. So please hit that subscribe button down below. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.